Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Maurice, you're in charge of the whole thing, and a reenactor, and Daniel, obviously a reenactor.
Yeah.
What's the uniform you've got on today?
This is a jean wool uniform from the Western Theater of Tennessee.
Oh, wow.
Okay, are you a northerner or a southerner?
I am a Southerner.
Confederate.
Tell us about the battles that people are going to get to see.
Yeah, so this year we're featuring the Battle of Deep Bottom and the second Battle of Deep Bottom. So Saturday will be the first battle, and then Sunday will be the second battle. There were two battles, in fact, of Deep Bottom. And it highlights, once again, the Jackson story that we're featuring, which is the 26th Michigan Infantry that trained right out of Jackson with over 1,000 men where True Community Credit Union is at Lansing and Clinton. So they trained and learned to become a soldier here, marched down these streets, and they would go off to the east to fight in those battles.
Where was Foggy Bottom?
It was just on the outskirts of Petersburg, Virginia.
Okay.
Now, how long have you been a reenactor?
I've been doing reenacting for 22 years.
Oh, wow. Very cool. Tell us a little bit about what's special about the Jackson Civil War muster. Obviously, the size of it, but tell us what you love about this one.
The Jackson Civil War muster has been going on for 37 years, and it's one of the biggest events next to even Gettysburg's national event and longest running here in the Midwest.
Why did you, how did you become like that character you are? Why did you pick the unit and the rank and everything?
At first I did Union reenacting and then discovered my Confederate ancestors. The most famous one was Sam Watkins. He wrote this book called Company H, which you can pick up at any store, and it's all about his diary from the war, surviving different battles. And so I revamped up the unit to tell their side of the story, of the Western side.
Yeah, that's pretty cool, especially for your family, but a lot of stories don't get passed down like they should.
Right.
Correct.
Yeah, so this is cool for a lot of families to come to. It's really it's a family-friendly event. It's free event. Talk a little bit about what else is going on.
Yeah, so we have a couple new things this year. That's one thing we're trying to continue to do. Some events, especially Civil War, can get dull really quickly when you're coming year after year. So we want to ensure that we're changing some different things up. We added a scavenger hunt this year for families, which is super exciting, which they can win some prizes at the end of that scavenger hunt. We have a guided tour that will take place each day at 10 a.m. It's notorious for local residents to come, and they come to the battle, walk by the root beer stand, and then they go home, and they don't really see everything else that's going on. So we want to be able to showcase a variety of different aspects that the event has to offer, even including back in the farther fields where people don't see some of the other tents that are in fact back there. We have two bands this year, or three bands this year, but two new ones. The 2nd Mounted Cavalry Brass Band, which is very unique. I see them pretty much on all white horses and carrying their instruments, a lot of originals, which is cool, and the 73rd Ohio Brass Band. So
Will there be food?
Excited. There will be food. We have about 8 food vendors. We just on Facebook shared that list that'll be out there. But most importantly, the root beer will be here, and that's been the thing we've been getting hounded about more and more left and right.
Now, in the Confederacy Army, what is your job, Daniel?
Depends on who shows up, what units show up. I'm a first lieutenant of my unit, and sometimes, depending on how many of my guys show up to an event, that we usually just fall in as privates to.
Maurice, how many reenactors will be on site?
Yeah, we have about 480 pre-registered, and that is huge. Normally we get like 200 pre-registered, so we're expecting 500 to 600 reenactors at the event this year, which is a really good uptick. There's not many events that are existing really anymore. They're fading away, as reenacting is just fading away of reenactors' age. So people are coming here to Jackson because they're familiar with the event, they hear about it, so we're gaining those numbers.
That's cool. How far away are some reenactors coming from?
The farthest that I know of is from Louisiana. That's driving up here. We had a guy from Montana last year, and there's someone else I know, Kansas City and such like that. Maybe Mississippi. There's a new gentleman with his friends that are coming up. Mississippi or Alabama, I have to remember exactly. But really, it's really cool to be able to see people come together from all across the region to come right here to Jackson for this. And it's perfect because we say Jackson was the hub for the Civil War next to Detroit.
And we have ancestors who were in the Civil War. And so I think it's neat where you've been able to trace your family history. And everyone really goes all out in terms of authenticity. And are you wearing something authentic?
Everything I wear is authentic.
Yeah.
Even the camp style, I'll throw out even my blanket roll and sleep underneath the stars like they did.
I love it. Does anyone else in your family do any reenacting?
Yes, my wife and my children do, and to pass on that knowledge of history of where they came from, what their ancestors did. Because as of right now, over the years of reenacting for 22 years, doing genealogy research, as of right now, I found 317 ancestors who fought on both sides.
Oh, wow. That's amazing.
I wonder what the H is. The H for Holly?
No, the H. Yeah, tell us what the H is. You missed it when
I missed
Daniel
it.
was telling about it.
A lot of the soldiers, this is what their identification is, because they didn't have driver's license and they didn't necessarily have dog tags. They try to find ways to be identified if they were killed in battle. So a lot of times they would write their names on their knapsacks or haversacks or even inside their jackets because they didn't want to be lost, so that way their family could find them.
Maurice, something you've been working on for many years, the flags of the Civil War have been returned to the Capitol.
Right, yeah, it was a recent ceremony there. We just recently put in all of the original, or excuse me, not the originals, the reproductions of the originals back in the Capitol building after the restoration project that they did there. And the Capitol did a really great job at hosting a ceremony to bring those flags back in, the reproductions. So I took part in a couple other Jackson residents, and it was a sight to see, I can certainly say that.
I'm interested in cooking during the Civil War, and Daniel, you're a farmer, so with your family, are you going to be making something that might have been made during the Civil War?
Of course, a lot of times it would have been with stews was the most common one, especially for soldiers, that they would put together their rations and throw it all into a stew, their hardtack, if they could find cabbage, some type of meat. Especially for this battle, being 1864, we didn't really have much supplies as a Confederate army, so a lot of times they would be whatever is necessary. Sometimes they find a rabbit or a squirrel, a rat. Sometimes they would eat mules.
There's rabbits over at the Cascades.
Well, we're not going to take those rabbits.
I don't think the Parks Department would like.
No, and I think all the rabbits will be out of there by then, to be
Probably.
honest with you, because there's a lot of commotion.
It is a lot of noise, a lot of rattling.
When do you start setting up? Have you already started to get
We
to
start
work?
setting up. Well, our first guy comes tomorrow night.
Okay.
He comes up from Indiana, and he's one of our Civil War vendors and has a lot of equipment. So he gets started a little early. But everyone shows up on that Friday.
Well, we'll look forward to it. Weather forecast is awesome for this weekend, so I'm sure we'll have great crowds. Just go. It's free.
That's right.
Thanks, guys.
Of course.
Well,
Thank you
thank
for having
you.
us
Thank
on.
you.
Maurice Imhoff and Daniel Pardee from the Civil War Muster. Morning show continues after these words.